Can he do it again? Mike did it. Jimmy stops, pops, fires! Jimmy, the hero, again! A back-to-back nights! Oh, boy! 1.5 seconds, no timeouts. Tyreek at the hole! Oh, my goodness!
Cousins gets a touch, but he helped out.
That is a man's jam! DeMarcus Cousins nearly brought down the backboard and rim.
You're now listening to the Kings Court Podcast, presented by SacKingsNation.com.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Kings Court Podcast. I'm your host, Vince Miracle, and joining me, as always, is my fellow co-host, Joe Morgan, Sac Sports Morgan on Twitter. Joe, what's going on, man?
Dude, a beautiful day. I'll ask you this though, man. Last time when you and Drew were on, man, you were shooting some shots fired in my direction, saying I was needy, and I don't know, man. I'm gonna need a hug today, I guess. You hurt my one remaining feeling. I was crying in bed. Wait, no, that's right. I don't care what you think. I remember now. But we do have some pretty interesting news to talk about today with the whole Lawson signing.
Yeah, well, I have to say this because of what you just said there. You just remind me of the guy, Craig Robinson, in the movie Pineapple Express, where he looks at the guy he's like going after Seth Rogen with. He goes, I may be big, but I got feelings. And you hurt all of them.
Yeah. Killing me, Smalls.
No, but you're definitely right. We finally have some news, some actual news.
Point guard watch.
And we've been waiting to see if something was going to happen, and the Sacramento Kings have finally brought in a backup point guard. Is it the one that we were all hoping for? We'll get into that discussion in just a little bit. But first, Joe, I think it's time. I think we've waited a solid 2 weeks since announcing the contest. And I think we have winners. And for those who do not remember, we did it 2 weeks back. And what the contest was is all you had to do was leave a rating, whether it be on Stitcher or on iTunes, about the show, whether it be 5 stars, 4 stars, 1 star, how much you love the show, how much you didn't like the show. Great news, Joe. People like us. And they left those reviews, and we appreciate all of the support that you guys threw our way and the ratings that you guys left on iTunes, because I'm telling you, that stuff really does help when we're going out to sponsors, and we're like, hey, look at these people that listen to it. Look at what they're saying about our show. We get this many listens in this area, and that sponsorship money, whether it be FanDuel, whether it be Brick House, whether it be the special tickets that we have to the Laughs Unlimited stage, like, we have these things, but I mean, that's because they're our sponsors, and that allows us to do other things, such as, Joe, do you want to do the announcement of saying that we will be hosting another arena game this season?
We will. I don't know exactly the date yet. It's probably going to be later in the year than it was last year. Let's see here. I have purchased, I don't know, a couple hundred tickets so far, and probably a couple hundred more as the year goes on. But man, oh man, it is a lot harder to get them this year because of the opening of the new arena. Everybody wants to be in the house. So we probably won't do, 800 like we did last year. We'll probably only do 400 or 500. But still, that's why we need sponsors, boys and girls, because that helps us get these tickets out to you guys.
So just so you guys know, for this most recent contest, what we did was we hit up Laughs Unlimited, and they hooked us up with a handful of 2 VIP passes. So you guys only need to get one of these tickets that we give out, and it admits 2 people, no charge. All you guys got to do is go in there and enjoy your time there, and you get to see a fun comedy show, which was roughly around 2 hours, Joe, each show.
Yeah, give or take.
So
depends on how many people they have that night, but it can be 2.5 hours. It just depends.
And they have some great guys going in there all the time. I want to give a huge shout-out to a former co-host of mine when I was over at Cowbell Kingdom. And, Joe, you know him as well. He used to be your co-host there as well. And that's Daniel Humbarger.
Oh, man, I was just at his recording the other day for his new album, and I was in stitches. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
So for all of you guys out there, hopefully you'll pick up that CD. He is hilarious. It should be out. I don't know how long it takes to put something like that together. I mean, they just recorded it Saturday. It was Saturday night that I was there. So they just recorded it Saturday. I don't know how long that takes to be actually from recording to actual CD in people's hands. But however long that is, man, I'm telling you, you need to pick it up.
Yeah, so definitely I want to give a huge shout out to him. I also want to give a shout out to a former Sac Kings Nation writer, Josh Means. You know, he's really been hitting up that Laughs Unlimited stage and getting better and mastering his craft of the comedy scene. And, you know, I applaud those guys because, you know, people think doing stand-up comedy is easy. I've tried it once. It's hard, and I'm not even funny.
Well,
and you guys know that from this show.
Yeah, you're not funny at all. But next week, next Tuesday, actually, 7 days from right now when we're recording, Josh will be doing his next stand-up. So anybody who wants to support a Sac Kings Nation member, get out there to Laughs Unlimited, walk in there, see Josh Means, give him some crap. I mean, it's always fun to roughhouse our own guys. You know, he'll be the guy making the redhead jokes about himself. So, pretty funny cat. He's hilarious too. So, get down there and see him.
Definitely. So let's start announcing some of these winners here. So I'm on iTunes, and the first two that pop up are I'm gonna butcher your name, buddy, here, but it's Jian is the name, or Yin Yi Chi is the name, and Dino Box Boogie. Oh, Don't Box Boogie. You know, so great podcast was one, Solid Show was the other, and on Stitcher we're gonna have Jacob, or Sacramento Proud Jacob. So you guys know who you guys are. You guys know who left those ratings. You guys know your iTunes and Stitcher names. Go ahead and DM either myself at VM Center, Joe at Sac Sports Morgan, or the site at SKN Articles, saying that you guys were the ones that left the rating. And guess what? You guys will be winning those tickets. And not only that, we also are going to be giving away to all three of you guys a Sac Kings Nation t-shirt. So again, Yi Chin, Don't Box Out Boogie, and Jacob Sacramento Proud. All three of you guys, DM, again, at VM Center, at Sac Sports Morgan, at SKN Articles, one of us, and you guys will be receiving your prize is very shortly. Now, with all that out of the way, wait. Actually, Joe, I think we do have to announce some of future. No, we'll save that for the end, actually. Let's get to the news at hand, because I think this is what people have been waiting for. I don't think we need to hold it up enough. The Sacramento Kings have brought on point guard Ty Lawson, former Denver Nugget, former Houston Rocket, and former Indiana Pacer, and now Sacramento King on a 1-year deal. The contract stuff has still not been disclosed quite yet. Of course, it was a Woj bomb that came out. But I think the question is was this the right point guard for this team? Joe, I'm actually going to throw it to you first, and because I kind of have a feeling you have strong feelings on this. You're Mr. Optimistic. So, Joe, the floor is yours.
I will give you my optimistic option here. I have some optimism and I have some negative comments. So I'll go optimist first because that's how I like to roll. I think that once Darren comes back from whatever legal actions he has, I'm not talking about the first 5 or 10 games where he's not there and Lawson's the starter. I'm talking about the rest of the year. I think this makes the second team of the Sacramento Kings look a lot better. Looks like they can run well together. You picture Lawson, Temple, Caspi, Labissiere, and Willie Cauley as the second team, and they have an identity now. They're going to be speed and fire. They're going to be moving the ball. Willie Cauley doesn't seem to be able to make his own to produce his own shots yet, and he should be able to get some easy ones off of Lawson, getting him the ball in the right spot. You talk about him having already played with some guys before, already played with Kufus, already played with Aflalo. That's going to help the chemistry. I think that one of my major cons, and everyone in the world has this con, is how is his alcohol issue coming? And I would assume, and I hate to assume things, but I would assume that as a head office, you would look into that before you sign a guy. So I'm hoping that they did their homework and they have gotten some assurances from him that that's in the past. But again, you never know. I mean, you just don't know. And until that plays out, nobody has an answer for that. But if you want some motivation, man, watch his crossover highlight mix on YouTube. Oh, if he can get back to form, it looks pretty good. But, again, that's a big if. I mean, but again, a 1-year low-value contract, and if he stays on the straight and narrow, he sticks around and plays really well. And if he doesn't, he's gone. And so, how do you debate that that's a good contract for the Kings?
One, is he a good locker room guy? I mean, yeah, you say he played with Aaron Aflalo. You said he played with Kosta Koufis. But that's great.
From all reports, from all reports, his only issues are off the court, not in the locker room, not on the court. His only issues have been off-court issues. I've never heard...
That's not true. He had Brian Shaw issues out in Denver. Those two seem to not really get along. They were on different pages. I mean, there's definitely things you can look at and say, there's definitely question marks there. I mean, is he going to be a good locker room guy? Is he going to be a good influence on DeMarcus Cousins? Is he going to be a good influence in that locker room? I think one of the big things, too, that we have to take note is that I personally don't want to, and Joe, I think you would agree with me, too, is we don't really want to harp on the off-the-court issues as much.
Everybody's beat that horse not only to death, but way past it. It's definitely going to be an on-court conversation tonight, but at the same time, you have to add that in a little bit, but not much. I don't need to, everybody knows what he did, and there's just, everybody knows. I mean, so let's get into his moves and what he can do.
Yeah, so, I mean, the only thing I will say is that I'm a huge supporter of those who really want to make a change and want to better themselves, and if that's the case, and if that's what he's doing, then I completely applaud him for it. And I hope that he is changing. I hope he is bettering himself. On the other hand, you read the Mark Stein piece that they do for him on the Undefeated, and, it seems if it was a little bit of a fluff piece. But at the same time, I kind of understand some of the things that he was saying in there. He was nervous about taking certain shots. He wasn't 100% healthy. The confidence just wasn't there. And, you kind of lose confidence when no one's really having faith in you. In Denver and Houston, you're barely touching the basketball. And then Indiana, he was definitely, not himself. He's a few steps behind from what he used to be. But his assist-to-turnover ratio through the course of the 15-16 season, both with the Rockets and with the Pacers, was a decent assist-to-turnover ratio. I mean, you can't be mad at that. A guy who throughout his entire career has always averaged more assists than turnovers, which is you can't say that about everybody. But it's at a good margin. It's nothing too crazy. I mean, it was 2 seasons removed. He was averaging 9.6 assists and only 2.5 turnovers. And I'm not expecting any of those numbers with a guy like Ty Lawson. So that's kind of my positive side. We'll get to the in-game stuff and how I think it'll work. However, there are some problems with Ty Lawson court-wise that I kind of want to address. First off, he's only 5'11". He's very small. He's not even 200 pounds. He's 195. So he's small. Yes, he's a little bulky, and I don't mean like that, like he's fat, but he's just a little pudgy. And again, that sounds fat, but that's the best word. He's round. But he's only 195 pounds. It's not like he's 200 pounds. He's muscling other people around. I mean, 195 is a decent size. But again, at 5'11", he's really not seeing over the defense. In the 7 seasons he's been in the league, in only three seasons has he played more than 65 games. In only 3 seasons has he played, more than 66 games. That's in 7 seasons. The rest of the time he's been injured. So
I wouldn't agree with that, because last year he played less, but not mainly due to injury, due to poor performance.
He got injured in Houston. He got injured in Indiana. Both times he got injured. I mean,
yeah, but that's not why he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing because he was doing horrible.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're doing horrible and then you go on the floor and you get injured, I mean it's all hand in hand.
No, it's a combo. I'll give you that, but I'm just saying. All I meant was it wasn't just because he twisted his, whatever. No. He wasn't playing because last year he forgot how to ball.
But I mean, throughout those other seasons, okay, you want to still take one off. Then 4 seasons? Either way, he didn't see the floor, and he should have been perfect in that system in Houston, being able to be in that catch and shoot situation. He's a better shooter than Patrick Beverley, and he just didn't fit. He didn't make it fit. And again, I don't completely attest that to him. You have to look at guys like James Harden on that team being a complete, ball hog and needing the ball in his hands the entire time. But again, he didn't see the floor. They didn't trust him, and his off-the-court issues were a problem. So then you move on. You go to Indiana now. He played for a little bit. He's starting to get his feet underneath him, and bam, got another injury. And that's the thing is, can this guy stay healthy? He's 28 years old. He's dealt with injuries. He just doesn't look the same. And maybe he's been working out. I mean, from all accounts, he's been working out this entire offseason. He's getting his body right. But this is where I'm going to throw the question to you, and this is going to be even where we start looking at the play of a guy like Ty Lawson on this team. But I think it first starts with, how many minutes do you think Lawson is going to be seeing with the Sacramento Kings? First, with Darren Collison not there for the, let's just assume, I don't even want to assume, for however long it is, until Darren Collison comes back, how many minutes do you think he's going to see, Joe? And then when Darren Collison returns, how many minutes do you think he'll see?
I'd give him 28 and then 23. That's probably my guess. 28 minutes without Collison there, and then about 23 when he gets back.
And in those 28 minutes, do you trust him to run your team?
Man, that's going to be a question that I want to see training camp before I can answer completely. See how he shows up. Does he show up? I mean, he seems like he wants to come here, so I want to say yes.
Well, yeah.
Everything seems.
He wants to come here. He's on his last leg.
His tweet the other night, can't sleep. I'm so excited for this season. Hey, I hope that's the attitude you bring into camp. And if so, yeah, I trust him. Because of the options, he was 100% the best one that we could have got, that the Kings could have picked up. I mean, there was some talk of other guys, but they just didn't seem like they were going to come here. So we kind of have talked about this in the past about, whether or not we like Lawson. And I've said the same thing every time. He's probably the best that the Kings are going to get, and he is now. So 28 minutes a night, yeah, I think he can do a good thing. Look at what Rondo did when he came here. I don't particularly like how he played, but he certainly played better than he had the year before.
Did he, though? Are we just looking at the stats and saying that with his assist numbers? Did he really play better, though?
The one thing Rondo didn't do was defense. And
the
hopefully
one
with
thing he
Ty...
didn't do was offense, either.
Well...
let's
go first half and second half of the season, okay?
First half, he wasn't playing defense. Second half, he wasn't playing defense. First half, they were actually making Darren Collison get more minutes than Rondo. Darren Collison gets injured. Rajon Rondo comes in. Hey, you know what? Let's just make this Rajon Rondo's team, and he can dribble the ball for as long as he wants to. And instead of taking a wide-open layup, let's throw it to Omri Caspi for three. Best shooter on the team. He also didn't even trust anybody that can take a jump shot last season. He only wanted to pass to the big man because he wanted that assist number. He is a ball stopper. He played terrible last season.
Well, and I say first half, second half, but, first half of the season, I think he played a lot better than the second half. But either way, regardless, let's get off the Rondo subject because we could go a whole hour on that again. And we have in the past, so let's just kill that quickly. But I think what Lawson can do different than him is not wait until the last 3 seconds to move the ball up. Not wait until the last 3 seconds to pass it to a guy who then has to take a shot. Let's just picture, I don't know, Bellinelli jumping sideways to shoot it after getting the ball with 3 seconds left on the shot clock. Just forcing a shot up that had to go up for the clock. Now,
that was bad coaching.
Well, again, a whole nother conversation. But point remains, like you said, Rondo did stop the ball and held it, so why did that make Rudy unhappy? Let's ask. Well, because again, it wasn't how he likes to play. Why did it make Bellinelli look so horrible? Well, again, it's not how he's supposed to be played. So you say coaching, I agree, but Rondo also was running it on the court. He was the court general. But either way, do I think Lawson can do better than that? Yeah, of course I do. And defense-wise, I think that I could play better defense than Rondo did last year because his effort level was 0. And I think Ty Lawson coming in here with some motivation is going to play way better defense than Rondo did last year. Not that that's any mark of talent, because any NBA player should be able to play better defense than Rondo did last year.
Ty Lawson is a just above average defender. on a good day. I don't want to hear he's a good defender. I don't want to hear, he knows how to push people back. Don't want to hear it.
No, none of that. But is he better than Rondo last year?
Yeah, that's why I said he's just above average.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's Rajon Rondo, just above that Ty Lawson. So in that regard, the Kings took a step forward. But see, that's the thing. Like the question started with how many minutes do I think he's going to get, or how many minutes do you think he's going to get? I have him to start the season if he does become the team starter right off the bat, which, I think you have to assume it. And I know there's people that's going to disagree. I know there's people like, Garrett Temple, somebody that I know. And I think they brought Ty Lawson on because they see the upside that he does bring. Whether or not how high that upside is, I guess could be looked at as a little bit of a question mark. But I will say, though, about that upside is I think in the system that Joerger could potentially run, and I've been watching a lot of Memphis tape, and today in the last couple days I've been watching over Ty Lawson tape, and things that Ty Lawson is good at, and things that the Memphis Grizzlies ran. I think that he could be a huge beneficiary of. And so that's where I think I think my expectations on Ty Lawson are low, mainly just due to the fact that I do believe he's 2-3 steps behind on his lateral quickness. His jumper just doesn't seem like it's there. He just cannot find the range. He's small. He's good in the pick and roll, but how good is he still? Like, I just want him to play. I just want to see him play because this last season in the two teams that he was at, and even that last season when he was with Denver, he averaged 9.9, but he started off really slow, picked it back up towards the end. The team still wasn't really that good. So, I mean, I really want to see what he can be. So I have him at roughly around 25 minutes. So 3 more minutes less, and I think when Darren Collison comes back, I think it's going to vary between 18 to 20 a game. The thing is, though, is I also think Darren Collison's going to get injured again. And that's like another issue that we have is Darren Collison's a little bit injury prone. Ty Lawson's a bit injury prone. So I think you have to give Garrett Temple minutes. And so there's so much of a dynamic between these 2 point guards. But with that being said, I think it's time to start looking at the positives, Joe, and that's why I love having you on the show because you are Mr. Positive.
Mr. Positive coming to your aid here, yeah.
You are Mr. Optimistic. You are Mr. Supercalifragilistic over here. What are some positive things that you take away from Ty Lawson's game that you think could be a huge benefit to Sacramento? Not comparing him to Rajon Rondo and what he was, but just a talent that Ty Lawson was, because I know you've been watching tape all day as well in the last couple of days since he signed.
Okay, one of my favorite things to watch him do is get a screen from one of the big men, and he can go with either hand into the lane and finish either mid-range, into the paint, or an actual layup. Anything in that area, if he gets a good screen, he can do it. And you're telling me we have a couple great big men on the team. I mean, bigs are not the Kings' problem. So you're talking about that, and you're saying, well, this guy can actually use those bigs to get inside. And that's going to be probably the best thing that we can see out of him. He shoots really good from the left side for some reason and not very good from the right side. I've been watching tape, and it's like it's a completely different guy shooting from the left side of the court to the right side of the court. I don't know why that is. Being that he's a right-hander, I would think it'd be the opposite. But again, who knows? Everybody has their own spot. Over his entire career, not including last year, he was 58% from the left-hand wing. Okay? And the right-hand side, he's only 18%. Why that is, again, I have no idea. That's his spot, I guess. But he's not great from anywhere. He doesn't do anything amazing anywhere. He's going to be the guy who gets the ball into the right guy's hand at the right time. And I like that. Like you said, he's not a very big guy, measuring, 5'11", maybe 6 feet if he has on big shoes. Nothing crazy. But again, his talent when he plays well, is up there. He can hit threes. He's not great at it. What, 32% career? I don't remember now. 31 or 32%.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, it's in that area.
I think Garrett Temple shot better from 3 last season than Ty Lawson did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's not great from there. It's not going to be, but he's also not going to be like a total letdown from that range. He's not horrible from there.
He was horrible last season.
I'll agree with that, but one bad year does not a bad player make.
That's what this league is, though. Is what have you done for me lately?
No, I know, and that's
the only time you can ever say like that doesn't matter is Kyle Korver had a bad year, but you still don't leave him open because he's Kyle Korver. It's not like they look at Ty Lawson or teams look at Ty Lawson and like, you know what? He used to shoot 33%. This year he's shooting like 29. Like that's really not that. I mean, it's definitely a big difference, but it's not that big of a difference. You know what I mean? It's not like he's shooting 35%. He's not shooting like Omer Caspi from 3.
No, God,
Darren
no.
Collison in the corner from 3. So, I mean, his niche is really going to be what he can do, moving without the basketball and moving. And this is where I think I'm seeing where the Kings can use him best. I think this is where we can start talking about play styles and why I think Dave Joerger could really be a huge help to Ty Lawson's career in the system that he was running in Memphis to now. But before I get into that, I'm going to pause the show right here to give a shout out to our sponsor. Everyone, go to BrickHouseIndustries.com. Check out all of their apparel from hats, shirts, and socks. And when checking out, be sure to use promo code KingsCourt and you will get a 10% discount right on us. And hey, if you guys want to keep up to date with all their new stuff they got coming out and you just don't want to keep on clicking in that URL on your computer, great news. They are actually on an app called Instagram and an app called Twitter. Go out and follow them at BrickHouse_IND. Tweet at them or Instagram at them. Let them know that the Kings Court sent you. So, Joe, I think what would be best for Ty Lawson in this Dave Joerger system is something called horns. And what that means is you're going to have 2 big men, whether it be Willie Cauley-Stein, who I presume is going to be the starting 5 or starting 4, however you look at the 2, and DeMarcus Cousins coming up to the top. And that's going to be Zebo and Marc Gasol. And what Ty Lawson is really good at, and you'll see it countless times, is how good he plays in a pick-and-roll situation or just using a screen in general. He's one of those guys that I think is very crafty in the fact that he'll avoid the first attempt of a screen, step back, and then have the screener, whether that be let's just roll with DeMarcus Cousins, screen back, like take 2 steps in, take that step back Lawson does, and he'll use that screen and cut right back down and finish with either hand. He can do it from either side. He's good with both hands around the basket. Another great thing is that he is really good at finding that bounce pass, kind of like Rondo was in that pick and roll situation with the bounce passes, of getting it to the big man. And at 5'11", he somehow has the vision and the ability to get it there, kind of like how I guess Isaiah Thomas rolls in that pick and roll, or not how he rolls in the pick and roll, but how he handles himself in the pick and roll. That's kind of how you can look at Ty Lawson. And I think that could be a huge beneficiary to him. Now, looking at it from the Memphis side, what Memphis would do is if they bring the 2 guys up, let's say Gasol and Zebo come up and they run that horns, Conley would pass it to Gasol, and then Conley would fake like he's cutting back down, and Jeff Green, this is the tape I saw, would screen his man. So Conley's coming right back up, and then while his guy is trailing him, Marc Gasol screens him, Zebo screens him, and then on the opposite end, I guess it would be strong side, so that's where the ball is, will get thrown Conley's way, catch and shoot situation right there for a 3. Or if his guy keeps holding on to him, Conley's able to step in, throw it up with a floater, or get Gasol, Zebo's guy, to follow him and have a nice dump-off pass right there. The great thing is that just like Conley, Ty Lawson in this situation, and I also think Darren Collison is going to be a huge beneficiary of this as well, is that they have DeMarcus Cousins as their big man. He can hit the 3. He can hit the mid-range shot. He can give guys work in the post, and he has amazing hands. He can grab the ball no matter where it is, as long as it's in his vicinity. And I think that's where Ty Lawson's going to really flourish, is that all of the attention is going to be on DeMarcus Cousins. I think the ball is going to be in DeMarcus Cousins' hands more than anybody else on the team. And that's the way it should be. And it should be in the post, or it should be on the top of the block. And I think I read somewhere that there's a growing suspicion that DeMarcus Cousins may be more of a playmaker. And I believe, if I remember this correctly, Michael Malone believed that DeMarcus Cousins can make plays from that post. And that's the feel. And this goes back to the coaching, as I really do believe Joerger is going to be a great coach for this team. Everything that you look at Memphis and the way he was able to just get those guys in sync with one another and really run a system that just fit to that team. Because remember, they wanted to run fast and pick up the speed, and that just didn't work. And he adjusted his roster and made the right adjustments and made that team start winning again. And I want to bring up something, Joe, that has really been bothering me. I keep seeing this on Twitter is, man, Dave Joerger's got to deal with these personalities. He's not going to be able to handle this locker room. Let's not forget that the Memphis Grizzlies had Zach Randolph, Chris Anderson, the Birdman, Tony Allen, Matt Barnes, PJ Harrison, Lance Stevenson. Am I missing somebody, out of these, the group of bad boys that they had up in there? They just had the man, I'm going to do whatever I can do to stay on the floor crew. How can Dave Joerger not handle personalities? Then on top of that, he had to deal with a mishmash of D-League talented players that he didn't even remember the names of these players. I remember after a postgame, he just said number 14.
I was just going to say that. That's one of my favorite Dave Joerger moments, trying to answer that and go, that guy.
Number 14, he scored that 3. It was big for us. I see, he can handle the personalities. He knows how to be a leader in that locker room. I think that's really where this is all going to come down to, on whether or not Ty Lawson succeeds, is how strong is that locker room. And honestly, it's going to start with the all-star player, the superstar, the franchise player, DeMarcus Cousins. I think he's showing promise. I think Team USA was great for him. I think the fact that he flew down here on his own dime to meet Dave Joerger at the press was a huge sign of his maturity. And I think that Dave Joerger is just the right guy for the job. He's the person that's not going to take crap from nobody. I was going to say the other word, Joe. I had to pause and think of a different word. I almost bleeped, and I don't have a bleeping. The beep. I don't have that sound bite, so I can't use it if we ever use bad words. But again, man, I think that this just comes down to leadership, and I think the Kings just have to know. And the Kings insider talked about this. They have to know if that Ty Lawson isn't working, they're not just going to keep rolling with him. They have to know when to cut him. You got to know when to hold him, and you got to know when to fold him.
I'll agree with that. And you were talking about the horns, but not only the horns, but transition. He's going to lose the ball way less than Rondo did last year, so that's obviously a huge plus. You were talking about his numbers, assists to turnovers. In transition to get there, it's going to be good. Lawson will have a Flalo and Gay. This is for the first half of the season. We'll have a Flalo and Gay out there on the wings, and Cuz, and I'm assuming Willie Cauley as the 4, but let's just picture it, or rather as the center and Cuz as the 4. And he can get either the ball low, he can drive it in himself, or he can kick it out to one of the guys. And the fact that it's actually spaced properly is so different than last year. If you look at the spacing of that, you're talking about the Horns offense. If you look at how that actually spaces the whole half court out, and the defenders have to pick, do they want to try to stop him from using a layup? Do they want to try to stop, Big Cuz from being underneath? Yeah, they're going to try to double team Cousins. That's going to leave him open to either kick it to the wing, to either Gay or a Flalo, who's going to drain one, or to kick it down to Willie Cauley, who again doesn't seem to be able to make his own shots up. So he'll be close, and he'll get a lot more opportunity down there. That's a great offensive strategy. I've been watching it all day, so of course I'm a little bit sold on it because most highlight tapes don't show you much of the bad stuff. But I've been trying to find the bad side of that particular offense, and so far it looks pretty good to me. But again, give me a couple more weeks of tape, and maybe I can come up with some bad stuff. Where he's going to have a problem though is screens, because on the defensive side, he's not big enough and he's not long enough to get around screens. He can't go through them with his size. He
used to be able to catch up with his quickness, but now that's slower.
He's 28, so maybe, hey, if he's in great shape when he comes into camp, maybe that's not as big of a problem as I'm picturing it to be. But at the moment, my mental picture is getting through his screens is going to be rough, and so either they're going to have to switch right there, and that's going to be a mismatch. It's going to be odd. It's going to be odd to see how that works out. Hey, hopefully it works, but again, I don't have a lot of confidence in that side. So that's where he's going to lose the most on defense. And obviously opposite teams know that. They know that coming in. So it's just a size issue, not being able to push your way through something. And we'll see how that works out. But again, later in the year when he's second team, that should be a lot less of a problem.
I can see that's another reason why I can possibly see Garrett Temple getting even more minutes and chewing into his time, because Garrett Temple is going to be one of the team's better defenders. And I can see Garrett Temple being that guy that comes out and guards the best player on the opposing team. And now having a guy like Matt Barnes to, I think Garrett Temple's, 29, 30 years old, so he's not necessarily going to be able to learn more, but to teach an old dog a new trick. And I know the saying is you can't teach an old dog a new trick, but maybe you can. I mean, 30 is not too old, but he's 29, 30 years old. Either way, you're going to have the team addressed the big need, and that's perimeter defense with Matt Barnes, Garrett Temple, and a locker room issue with, again, another thing too is Matt Barnes is looked at as one of the biggest bullies and headaches in the NBA, but you never hear about his, and we've talked about this before, Joe. You never hear his teammates talking bad about him. It's always the opposing teams. He's one of those people that you want to play with him, you don't want to play against him, and that's because he's going to get in your head, he's going to bug you, he's going to stick his finger in your face, and I think that the fact that you heard that DeMarcus Cousins wants him here, and then you bring in guys that won best teammate of the year and Anthony Tolliver and Garrett Temple, bring in the veteran of Aaron Aflalo, who I've touched on plenty of times. Not that high on him as other people are, but now you bring in, I think the Kings feel like they have a locker room now that could build synergy, can build chemistry, and they're willing to take a gamble on a guy like Ty Lawson, who has proven he can put up numbers in the right system, who has made it to the playoffs, and who is fighting for his NBA life. And I think that's why they're bringing him in. I think that's what it is. I have no inside source on it. This is just a personal feel, just outside looking in on how this team could be perceived on this signing. Because this is another reason why the Kings are going to be looked at as, another Kings move, and it definitely is. But I'll also say that Sacramento is a team that is a franchise that needs to take risks on players. They did it with Rajon Rondo. It didn't work out. 1-year deal. Now he's gone. Same thing with Ty Lawson. I think Ty Lawson has the upside to be something if in this system that I believe he can put up at least decent numbers. I mean, he's going to want to get paid. He won 1 year now. Will that loyalty that the Kings are showing to him, or not necessarily loyalty, but the faith that they put into Ty Lawson, will that show his respect and his loyalty to Sacramento? Want to resign here? That's another big question mark if he does happen to pan out. But Joe, I think we can start wrapping up here. But I want to get your final thoughts, and I guess that would also mean your worst case and best case scenario in your mind for Ty Lawson.
I think best case scenario, he comes out and is just blowing us away in the first part of the season when he's starting, hitting, 15 to 18 points and 8 assists or something, and he actually keeps the starting job. I don't think that's the case, but that'd be my best case scenario, best thing that could possibly happen. I think more likely he's going to be, again, second team the most of the year. once Darren Collison comes back off of his inevitable suspension. And I think he's going to be able to run that second team. Like I said, I think they're going to be. I think the first team is going to get that Memphis mindset where they're going to be a grinding team. You look at some of the defense that the Kings have on their first squad, and I think it's going to get a lot better, obviously, with Dave Joerger as the coach. And I think the second team will come out, like I said before, with that speed and fire motivation. When you see Omri Caspi coming out, he always seems to motivate guys to play better, even if he's not shooting that great. He's one of those motivator guys. He's kind of like old Quincy Acey was last year, So that's my more realistic scenario. He plays on the second squad, and he really helps them out. And if that's the case, you talk about the first squad doing well and the second squad doing well. I don't know how much that would move the needle on the Kings. I don't think they're going to win a lot more games because of the Ty Lawson signing. I don't think it has, I don't think it's just cemented this team into brilliance. I don't think it's anything like that. Even as optimistic as I am, I don't think it's going to, move them into a contender in any way. But it was a good signing. It was a really good signing. You talk about a 1-year deal where the guy, he has a lot of upside. And again, if he doesn't work out, next year is loaded with free agent point guards. If the Kings happen to do horrible this year, it's a loaded draft. And plus, you got next year, you got Bogdan coming over. So, you're going to be set at a couple positions next year and only have to focus on one.
Best case scenario for me, he finds a way to overtake Darren Collison for the starter. And that's the best case scenario, and he finds himself. And I think I take that as like the super best case scenario. Yeah. I think the best case scenario is that he finds himself again, and he finds a home in Sacramento, and he decides to re-sign here, and the Kings feel like he's worth it, and he just completely fits this system. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he's exactly what he was last season, and the Kings cut him. They waive him. He really didn't cost that much. I mean, I think maybe he's going to cost like $5 million, 3 to 5. I think he's going to be in that range. Again, the contract stuff has not been disclosed yet. 3 to 5 million. I think it's going to be there for that 1-year deal. Waive him if need be. I think he's definitely a low risk with mid-level, like decent upside reward. So I think if he's not producing and he's not necessarily helping this team, and you can kind of say, hey, Garrett Temple, we paid you. We're invested in you. Ty Lawson's just kind of eating your minutes, and he's not necessarily even helping this team on the defensive side nor offensively. I think we're ready to just give you minutes, and Ty, if you don't like it, we're ready to waive you. Like, I think that's kind of that. The Kings, I feel like, have all the control in this unless he plays extremely well, and then they're just hoping that the faith that they put on him will bring the loyalty to bring him back if they so choose to. Again, we brought up the draft. There's loaded. I think this is going to be one of the best draft classes in a very long time. I'm super excited for the college season. Yeah, Bogdan coming over. Darren Collison's also on a contract year, and that's why I think Darren Collison is definitely going to have a big year. I'm huge fan of Darren Collison. I think he's one of the best players on this team. Everyone knows, if you listen to me for a while now, my infatuation on Darren Collison's game. So I think reasonable expectations to end out the season on the best case scenario side for me is he gets roughly around 13.2 points and 5.6 assists on 2.3 turnovers. Like, these are numbers. You guys can write them down. Put it in the books. That's what's going to happen.
Well, I'd like to believe that best case scenario plays out, but I even have one other scenario that I think we've kind of overlooked, and it could be a possibility. You rehab the guy, he does really well, he shows he has no more issues, and then you trade him mid-year. And you get him somewhere else who's a contender this year who needs a good backup, and maybe you get something good out of it, like a first-round pick next year. Maybe you get something good out of it, like a player that's, I don't know what, but,
That's not going to, if anything, it's someone like, hey, we want to be able to waive him. If the Kings are trading him, it's going to be like, hey, we're ready to waive him. Like someone wants to do like a $5 million salary dump. Like that, I just don't see that being realistic because it's a 1-year deal. If another team really wanted him, we'll just wait till the offseason.
Yeah, you say that, but I'm talking about a guy who's just on the fringe of making the 8th seed, trying to get in and needing a backup.
And their starting point guard goes down.
Yeah, something like that.
But if he's playing well, then Darren Collison, and you have Darren Collison and Ty Lawson, and the Kings want to be able to have that they want to have that on a team that they're trying. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a plausible thing in my mind. I mean, it's possible. I just don't see that happening. I think that
well, we were talking about best case and odd scenarios too. You know, it could happen. Is all I was adding to that conversation. But best and worst, his best year and his worst year. Those are really the highs and lows that it could be. It could either be last year or it could be 4 years ago, whatever the case is. So hopefully it's a couple years back and he wakes back up and comes in motivated, in shape, and ready to play. And that's what we're all hoping for here in Sacramento.
All right, Joe, final thoughts.
I think you hit it really well when you said the Kings have all the control in this, and I think that is a change from a lot of the things they've done in the past. That always gives me hope. I'm really basing a lot of my hope this year, and I think a lot of Kings fans are, in Dave Joerger's ability to put this thing together. And if he can run 2 squads as well as I like to believe he can, I think the Kings are going to have at least a decent year. It's not going to be great, but I don't think they're going to be abused. So, this was a good signing. Again, that's my final thoughts, I guess.
Signing was for me. I think that, it's, again, low risk, decent reward. I don't think it's like a high reward, like, 9.9 assist guy, but, he'll be a serviceable backup, and that's what he'll be. I don't think it's a good signing. I don't think it's a bad signing. I think it's a signing. That's my expectations on a guy like Ty Lawson. And I'll leave my final thoughts off with this, and this is a quote that I could see him using in a interview, since the report said that he was out here in Sacramento on Saturday. This is a quote that he said in an interview with Basketball Breakdown. And this is back in 2014-15, and they asked him, when do you know when to get your shot? What is a point guard supposed to do in that scenario? And he responded by saying, I feel like if everyone's happy and they touch the ball, they'll play harder on defense. After that is when I'll start looking for my shot. So, I mean, he definitely sees the value in other people scoring and how it affects both sides of the ball. I think that's one thing that he could definitely, if he still has that mindset, that's something that could definitely popped off the charts for a guy like Dave Joerger and Vlade trying to set up a new what's the word I'm looking for? A new mindset for Sacramento. And I think that could be encouraging. So, upside and signing. Those are my final thoughts. Joe, let the fans out there know where they can find you online.
You can find me online at SacSportsMorgan on Twitter. That's my favorite way to communicate with everybody. And you can find me in real life driving around in that hugely loud Sacramento Kings truck.
You guys can find me on all social media platforms of @VM Center. I want to thank you all again for leaving your guys' ratings, and to the winners who left the ratings on iTunes and on Stitcher. And again, hit us up at SacSportsMorgan, @VM Center, and of course the site @SKN Articles on Twitter to start claiming your prize. And guys, don't stop just because there's no awards this week or next week or anything like that. Keep leaving those ratings. Help us gain these sponsors, and let us know what you think about the show, the things you love, the things you dislike, because all we want to do is continue getting better, and the only way we do that is with your guys' thoughts. So keep leaving your guys' ratings on iTunes and on Stitcher. For future shows for this upcoming week, this next week, and I believe the following week after that, we will be having some guests. In what order, I really don't know, but they're guests we've never had before. And they're guests that I am very excited to bring on. Joe will be interviewing one. I will be interviewing another. And so definitely be on the lookout for that. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to go check out BrickHouseIndustries.com and check out all of their apparel. And when checking out, be sure to use promo code Kings Court for that 10% discount. Bookmark SacKingsNation.com for all of your in-depth coverage of the Sacramento Kings. And until next time, Sacramento Kings fans, bye-bye.